She leaned in to whisper in her ear, and I could just barely hear her whisper, Mi itain shecharaif, ihiyu mela'im dekol tu. May your life be full of goodness and blessings, and in your lifetime. Just then my mother walked into the room, caught sight of the otherworldly creature, and shrieked, It's Lilith! The demon has come to eat my baby! Her cries brought others running into the room, bearing ambulance, shouting mystical names and curses, and attacking the shadowy creature woman until she could escape and slip away back out the window and fly off into the night with her bad news. Everyone was crying, kissing my sister, and praising the angels for saving the baby. But I was sad to see her go. I whispered. I would carry that name with me for the next century.
Adam was a real brat in the beginning. Well, let me explain. I created two at once. Adam, with his beautiful physique, intelligence, capable hands, and dancing feet, and Lilith, with her strong mind, melodic voice, and beautiful figure. They were a perfect match. Yin and yang in my beautiful, luscious garden. As I lovingly placed them on the soft green grass and breathed their souls into their bodies, I was full of hope for their life together. I made them as compliments, gave them free will, and stepped back to enjoy my creations. After a few hours, I heard Adam and Lilith calling out for me. They needed some mediation. Adam went first, explaining that he was near a breakdown, that he needed a partner who would affirm and support him more. Lilith gave an impatient shrug and explained that Adam was upset because she wanted to be on top during sex, that she had offered a 50-50 compromise, that she had offered many compromises for their relationship, but Adam wouldn't budge. It was clear to me that this was going nowhere, so we decided to stop the talk and go our separate ways to cool off for a bit. Well, later that day, Lilith came to me with tears in her eyes. I'm going to leave, she said. Immediately, I pleaded with her. I begged her not to go. I told her I would work with Adam, anything. She listened to me rant, took a deep breath, and whispered, I need to go. I need to go for me, for Adam, who I love, and for you. Please, let me go. What could I say? I had created them with the very pieces that could either unite or divide them. So I gave Lilith a beautiful home in the mountains by the sea, and I made sure that I wrote her into the creation story, a hidden gem for people to discover and learn from. And to this day, I wonder if I let the wrong one go.
I am so sick of other people telling my story. I am so sick of other people abusing and twisting and changing my story. So here I am to tell you some of my story, a little bit of what I've experienced, what I remember from the days of creation, and what my life and my existence has been like since those days. I'm Lilith. I was created the same moment as Adam, from the same dirt, the same mud of the earth, created as Adam's equal feminine counterpart. But from the very first moment, Adam didn't look at me with loving eyes. He saw me as a threat. He saw everything about me as a threat. I was not his equal in his eyes, and I never was going to be. God asked me to stay. God pleaded with me to stay with Adam. But I couldn't. How could I stay with someone who was never going to treat me as an equal, who was never going to see me as an equal? Would you stay? Would you stay with someone like that? Should you? If your Creator has commanded you to? But I called out the name of God, he sprouted wings, and I flew from the garden. I found the demons of the world that populated the earth outside of Eden. They became became my friends and my lovers. And I decided that I was going to serve God by continuing to populate his world, his creation, and I had many children. Life was really beautiful for a time, until God changed God's mind. Sent 3 angels. The angels told me, commanded me to come back. God's orders. I refused. And they cursed me that every day I would lose 100 of my children. My service to God, I was going to lose that. And I still refused. And it's the pain I suffer every day, with every millennia. But what's worse is how my story has been remembered. History hasn't been kind to me. Myth and folklore has not been kind to me. They call me a succubus. They say I sneak into beds at night and steal husbands away from wives. They call me a monster. They say I eat babies. I'm a mother. That's a little bit of my pain. I wanted you to hear it from me. From my lips to your ears.
My name is Adam. Once upon a time, I was created with another person. Her name was Lily, and she was my wife. She was quite an annoying person. She always bothered me by telling me what I have to do. We fighted a lot. We fighted so much, so we had to ask for professional help. It didn't work out with us. I just wanted to be alone. And I went for a walk that day. I cried. I cried to God, who created us. Why do you torture me? I cried and cried and cried, and I didn't notice how I fell asleep right under the tree. I woke up early in the morning with sunrise and walked home against my will. She wasn't there. She disappeared. I started to look for her everywhere. I looked for her everywhere, but she wasn't there. I turned Gan Eden upside down, but she's gone. She disappeared. I knew that God had some compassion to my prayers. I just had to ask him.
When I was a young man, I heard this story from my rabbi, and he heard the story from his rabbi, who heard the story from his rabbi, who heard the story from Uriel, who heard the story from the sky, and the sky heard the story from the angel Samuel. And this is what the angel Samuel told the sky. I was one of the 3 original angels that were sent to bring Lilith back to Eden. When we got to Lilith, we found that it was much harder than we expected. She was much stronger and wiser than we all anticipated. The best that we could do is make a deal with her. The deal was that Lilith wouldn't hurt any mother or a newborn as long as they were an Emmanuel with her name upon the bed. We weren't happy about it, but it was the best that we could do. So, the 2 angels and I wandered around the world, killing Lilith babies, trying to stop evil from spreading. At one point, things started to change. More and more mothers and babies found dead next to their beds. We all knew it was Lilith's work, but we couldn't have proved it. There's no way that she could have broke the deal that she made with us. So I flew all around the earth, trying to find her and stop her. One day, I got to a small forest that leads to a small town. and there I saw Elijah, but he wasn't alone. As I got closer, I heard him say, "Unclean one, who are you, and where are you going?" Elijah was blessed, so nobody could lie to him. I recognized the voice immediately, as it said, "I am Kulo, also known as Lilith. I'm going to meet a woman that just gave birth, and I'm going to seduce her husband and kill her, and then I'm going to eat her baby." Finally, I understand how Lilith broke the deal she made with us. She took a new name so the ambulance wouldn't affect her. Elijah said, "I curse you, be silent as a rock." Lilith cried and screamed and shouted, and she shook her bat's wing until she gave up. And then she said, "Elijah, please release me. I will make a deal with you, a new deal. And this time, I will tell you all of my names, the real ones." Elijah said, "I agree." And he took a small piece of paper and he wrote all of the names of Lilith. And these are the names of Lilith. Lilith, also known as Abitin, also known as Abisu, also known as Queen of Ashmedai, also known as the First Eve, also known as Kalti, also known as...
I am sick and tired of being an outcast, of being judged by everyone for being a half-human, half-demon Jew. Let me introduce myself. My name is Shira, and I am a daughter of Lilith. My father is human, and everyone seems to think my mother is a horrible demon. She's forced to come to me in dreams these days because of the curse of the angels. She's not allowed to be seen in the human world. I've seen her in dreams, and she is no Helen of Troy. She's no conniving temptress and no evil witch. She's my mother. And frankly, I'm sick of being judged for her supposed sin. I'm sick of being seen as a scourge upon the earth for being a half-demon. I'm human too. It's ridiculous. I can't go to any parties. No one wants to be my friend. No one will even let me go to shul with them. I can't deal with this. I'm sick of being judged. Why won't people just let me be me?
Lilith came to me in my darkest hour. I was tired of being controlled, devalued, dehumanized, pressured into passivity and submissiveness. I was sick of being abused. But my society told me these lies, such as, how could you be so naive? Why would you trust him? It's your fault this happened to you. If only this, if only that. If you had said something differently, maybe he wouldn't have acted toward you in this way. Lies. Why does society perpetuate these lies? Maybe because it's easier to believe them than to put blame on the people that you should actually be putting the blame on. But friends, now some truth. There's never any excuse for abuse. And I'm sorry to say that for a little bit of time, I actually forgot that. But thank God, Lilith came to me and she helped me to remember this. And it was only then that I was able to find the strength to return to myself. So I flapped my wings one day and I started to feel freer again. Life got easier. I spent time with family and friends. I started to remember who I was. And some of the burden lessened all the time from everything that happened. But, you know, I realized something, and that is that there's a difference between freedom and liberation. I do feel freer. I'm safer now. I'm not being abused. But my society shackles me. My society tells me that if I don't walk in dark, deserted places alone at night, I can avoid being raped. Or that if I go to a party and I drink too much and I get sexually assaulted, it's my fault. And because everything is all my fault, I'm supposed to keep quiet at all costs and not speak about it. I'm supposed to be ashamed. But that doesn't work for me, friends. It doesn't work for me anymore. I am a survivor of sexual abuse, and I'm not ashamed of the things that I went through. They've only made me stronger. Silence doesn't work for me, not tonight, not anymore. Lilith calls out to me, and I decide that I'm going to answer her. I decide to answer her call. And when I answer her, I'm able to speak out, I'm able to spread truth. And then I start to feel better. I start to feel stronger and more independent, like I'm becoming myself again. I admit that there are moments when I don't feel that strong. I feel kind of like a bird with broken wings that can't really fly. But I have to remember that by breaking the silence and by spreading the truth, I come one step closer to liberation.
Desire. Not the petty, petulant, I want of a child, or the envy associated with seeing a fancy car or a pretty bubble, but the burning, molten, red-hot urge that drives one to madness, to infidelity, to crossing lines that one never meant to even approach, much less cross. It is the temporary insanity brought on by the obvious licentiousness of someone else, the oh-so blameless actions of an otherwise innocent person, clearly bewitched by the guiles and wiles of another. Never coming from within or subject to personal control, lustful thoughts are the obviously malevolent influence of enticing evil, of seducing sin. Beyond any possibility of resistance, and yet, simultaneously, something that must at all costs be suppressed by any and all means necessary, desire is the reason for the chador, the veil and the wig. It is the excuse used to justify oppression, subjugation, and persecution. It is the reason Lilith became a demon, and Eve gets blamed for the apple. It is the reason for the mechitza, and for the soft tones and meek demeanors of a large percentage of humanity. It is the strange notion that if I see and I want, but I'm a good person, the object of my desire must be at fault. It is the singular force that can take a human being and turn them from subject to object. Greed is the unspoken watchword of the desperate, the self-delusional, and the self-righteous. And desire is the point where lust, madness, delusion, rage, and greed meet. And yet, desire is not inherently evil. Desire is as desire does. Desire is also the fuel that propels the progress of society. It is the nursemaid of invention and the caretaker of innovation. It forges a bond between partners and can inspire even the shyest and most humble to great feats. It is the playmate of ambition, and it is the companion of accomplishment. It is both impetus and reward for achievement in life. Ultimately, desire is the cosmic kick in the pants most people need to get out and do things in life. What they choose to do, how they choose to express that desire, is a choice purely left to them.
In Hebrew school, they teach us that Lilith was punished by God because she was weak enough to succumb to her sexual desires. They say that she should have been more meek, more submissive, and more ordinary. Ordinary. Would an ordinary woman not have sexual desires? Then what does that make me? Am I too some kind of demon that haunts men in their sleep? Am I guilty of possessing the thoughts and minds of men as they, the stronger species, are more able to repress their thoughts of the female body as it entices and taunts them in and out of their dreams? Would an ordinary woman sit patiently? Then what does that make me? Should I too sit around waiting for some decree from a higher power to tell me whether or not my behaviors are appropriate? Would an ordinary woman only wear clothes that hid the unique form of her body? Then what does that make me? Are the curves of the hips that God made just for me considered a curse if I decide to use them in a way that He does not deem appropriate? And if I decide to wear short shorts and my hair long, is it because I want attention and have no self-respect? Or is it because I have so much self-respect that I feel comfortable enough to celebrate the love that I have for my own body?
In Hebrew school, they teach us that Lilith should have been more ordinary. But my desires, my attitudes, and my curves do not make me ordinary. At least not according to the people that say that God was correct in challenging and therefore punishing Lilith. I know that because of this, I am not ordinary, and I know that not one of us is ordinary.
Although the years have been long, I have not forgotten Lilith. Her name was on my lips as we fought for rights, freedoms, equality. Her prophecy inspired me to speak up, to take action, and to ensure that no one, man or woman, would twist my blessings into false curses. And now, 100 years later, I finally saw Lilith again. She was different this time. Shining golden skin, beautiful feather wings, and still the same kind eyes, the same soft blue as my 5-day-old great-granddaughter. I saw her slip through the window and land by the cradle of my great-granddaughter, bend to bestow the most gentle kiss upon me. I saw that there were still some shadows of scales, traces of talons, and some feathers missing from her wings. The demon Lilith has not been completely forgotten. But most people now tell stories instead of a beautiful woman in God's image. Centuries of slander have begun to fade, allowing glimpses of the Holy One's magnificence to shine through her. She leaned to my great-granddaughter's ear, and I could just barely hear her whisper, Mi itain shechayaich, ihiyu melechim kol tuv. May your life be full of goodness and blessings, and in your lifetime,